I lost my mom to cancer when I was 8 years old. Not the quick and romantic illness from the movies. Not that kind. I lost my mom to the kind of cancer that was 2 long years of hospitalizations and surgeries, wheelchairs, hospital beds, and oxygen tanks moving into our home, riding along for chemo sessions with a barf bucket in the front seat, and getting shuttled back and forth to relatives' homes while everyone tried to make it seem like these were exciting adventures. Accordingly, I've always been a ghost of sorts. I look just like her. My father and I have always struggled with our relationship, and those close to him told me, "It's because you look like her. He lost her once. He's too scared to be close and lose her again." That wasn't great news for a young daughter. My grandmother chose to indulge herself in her later years, calling me by my mother's name instead of my own. Later at Grandma's funeral, people came up to me saying they thought that Janine had come into the room because I had her mannerisms and even her walk. Growing up was strange. While divorce was on the rise and becoming more common for kids in the classroom, no one really knew what to do with someone whose parent died. Throughout school, I was continually told that I needed to get to know John, who had also lost his mother. We were marked, the only ones. But they couldn't facilitate the dialogue, and no connection was ever made. Being my mother's daughter left me completely without a roadmap. Because communication was sparse in my home growing up, focusing on Mom was at varying times a way to feel protected. When other kids had an imaginary friend on the playground, I had my mom. It's weird, I know. I was a weird kid. I was the one who drew a detailed picture of the lower intestine and colon on elementary school reports. I wanted to be a microbiologist when other kids were still thinking about being firemen. As an adult out in the work world, I finally found a home for this focus through philanthropy. I spent years working for the American Cancer Society and several more as a volunteer. I planned events that raised a lot of money and brought thousands of people together to fight cancer. I got to know patients, their families, and people left behind. People like me. I loved it. It was a lot of work and time, and in fact, it was often all-consuming. I looked around one day and realized that the focus of my life was still revolving around someone who wasn't here, and that by doing that, I was keeping myself a ghost. Although I loved the work, I needed something that didn't surround me by cancer every minute of the day. I changed jobs and immediately got pregnant. I read about motherless mothers and learned that I would likely block out my daughter's 8th year, the same year I lost Mom. So that's right. Go ahead and mark the calendar now. I'm checking out at that point for a year. The concept of my own daughter becoming transparent, as I once was to my father, petrifies me. At this point, it's now 29 years later. I'm the mother of 2 kids, 4 and under, and a stay-at-home mom. My universe has completely changed and now looks eerily like my mother's. She never really had career aspirations. She wanted to be a homemaker. I always planned to work, but circumstances made it more practical for me to be at home. I do hundreds of loads of laundry, clean the fingerprints off the fridge, which for some reason are my husband's and not my kids'. And I want to post a sign on my back that says, "I used to not smell like baby vomit and Cheerios." The struggle for me these days is that lack of phone call. I have amazing friends and a wonderful network of mothers. But at 37, long after this outlet was available to me, I still have so many I want my mommy days. I want to call and ask her if I can give the kids to the gypsies. I want to ask her why she wanted to stay at home. I want to ask her how the heck she made it through chemo sessions and side effects while juggling 2 little kids when I can't even get dinner on the table while healthy. I want to hear her laugh as she recognizes the payback that I'm getting for being the snotty little toddler I'm sure I was. I want her to tell me who's going to style Abby's hair or how to apply makeup, because I never learned. I want her to tell me what happens next. In the meantime, as someone who feels like I have no evidence of history, I document my kids' every moment. I blog it, I book it. I try to find adventures for us and savor the time. I try to remain sane. And whenever someone tells me how Abby is just like her mom, I think again about how thin that line between our past and creating our own selves is. My mom didn't have the opportunity to help create that canvas for nearly as long as she'd planned. And although I'm winging it, I hope I can help my own daughter find that balance.